Hey everybody, Eugene with Verdi here today. I'm going to be demonstrating how easy it is to install a Teros 10 soil moisture probe. This probe, if you order from Verdi, will come pre-assembled with our 3-prong connector that will connect to our block controllers, which act as the telemetry for the Teros 10 probe. You can choose at whatever depth you want to bury these Teros 10s at, depends on your crop. For vineyards, typically anything between 18 to 24 inches is good, but you can obviously, if you have several of these, you can plant them at many different depths. Blueberries, choose anything between 12 inches to 18 inches. Blackberries can be about the same. It really just depends on your crop and how deep your particular rooting zone is. So let's go ahead and dig the hole and show you how easy it is to install this Teros 10 soil moisture sensor. Hopefully, if your soil is compliant, it'll be just as easy as it'll be here. But if you have rocks and stuff like this, it will be a lot more difficult. All right, perfect. The hole is dug, but since I'm not gonna make our camera person look into the hole, I'll just demonstrate exactly what you wanna do, and then I'll show you in real life what you're gonna be doing. So with these Teros 10s, pretty much most of the Teros products and any other probes that look something like this, it's important to get full soil contact. You don't want any air gaps and you don't want any rocks or anything like this to get into the way of the soil probes, because the volumetric water content that gets measured from these probes gets measured in a chunk of soil about this size, maybe a little bit bigger, around the Teros. And specifically, you want the soil contact between these two probes to be as natural and as free of air gaps as possible, apart from the natural air gaps that are in the soil. So don't be installing these next to a gopher hole or anything like this. So what you want to do is, when installing the Teros 10s, you want to make sure that there's snug soil contact and that you're installing them either horizontally like this or vertically like this. Ideally, you don't want to install them at an angle, and you definitely don't want to install them like this or like this, as that will affect how the water flows around the sensor, and that'll affect your measurements. So ideally, it needs to be snug in the soil without any shaking as you install it. There are many different tools and ways an installer can come up with to get a snug fit like this or to get some leverage. Teros, our meter, actually also creates a tool to help install this in tight spaces with a very snug fit against the soil. So yeah, just what I'm gonna do in this hole that I've dug here is simply just insert it horizontally like this. We at Verdi like to install it horizontally like this, primarily to get the profile at that specific horizontal level instead of the profile in between the probes. It really doesn't matter, but just to kind of keep things consistent, we like to install it horizontally like this. So it's just as simple as undoing the tie and installing the probe in the side of the soil at the predetermined depth. So now it's installed. You can leave as much wire in the hole as you want, depending on where the telemetry for the sensor will be. When backfilling, you want to provide a little bit of compression, but not too much, to get a good snug fit around the soil, around the sensor, and even pre-wet the soil a little bit so that it fits, is more compacted than if you just backfill it with dry material. Once the hole is backfilled, you will then run your wire along any infrastructure you want to your Verdi provided telemetry. All right. So now that we've installed our Teros 10 soil moisture sensor in the ground, we've run the wire along our vineyard infrastructure to get it close to our Verdi microblock controller. In this case, it will be providing telemetry for your soil moisture sensors. So the microblock controller will come to you in something like this. We've already pre-installed it here with some zip ties. There are some handy spots here on the Verdi block controller to run your zip ties through. This is going to be your telemetry for your sensors. Ideally, you want to install it relatively high so that your gateway has better connectivity with it, but our gateways can connect to controllers within a mile and more. So after installing your Teros 10 soil moisture sensor in the ground, you then run your cable through the infrastructure. The sensors connect to the microblock controllers, which is the telemetry for the sensors here. On these two bottom sensor connectors, there's an option for 2 sensors, and in this case we're going to be using the sensor 1 port. So to connect the sensor to the block controller or to the telemetry, it's as simple as connecting these 2 ports together, closing this connector here, and that's it. Now to add the sensor on the Verdi dashboard, you will navigate to the dashboard and it should look something like this, but with your farm there instead. And then you go to add device. It then opens up your camera, and then I'm going to now just scan the QR code by facing the camera towards the QR code here. It has now picked up the ID, as you can see, of that particular device. And it also has the letters here, JUM728, which is exactly what is affixed to the post there. You will then click next, indicate what kind of sensor it is. In this case, we've installed a Sprout sensor only block controller. I select this. I then indicate on the map where I am. I then click next, and then I choose the zone, and then I choose the sensor. It's a Teros 10. All the sensors that we have integration for will be on there, and then you click save. You can also choose to name that particular sensor if you have names for your block. Thanks for joining us.